Hello, my name is Dale Harrison from Fresh Air UV. Today we're going to be installing the Fresh Air Mini UV product that goes in ductless mini split systems. Here's a few of the items that are actually included in the kit itself. You have the 120 or 230 volt power supply. It comes either or, you have to order it that way. You have the two 9-inch lamps. You have the kit bag that has all the accessories in it that are spread out right here. And you have the installation manual that actually has all the illustrations on installing it. Plus you'll get a really good idea of installing the product once we're finished here today. And these are the tools that are needed to install the product. Okay, what we're going to do now is actually remove the front cover and show you the power supply location, which is going to be the first thing that you're going to be doing, is actually finding your primary location of the power supply and installing the line voltage to the unit itself. First thing what you're going to do is actually locate where the screw covers are. Little front little spacers or little notches that you take off to access your screws. Once you do that, then you're actually just going to unscrew. This one actually just has 2 screws. One there. And one more right here. Okay, then you just take the cover off. Okay, once you get the cover off, you're going to decide where the best access is going to be for the power supply, best location for the power supply. You're going to have your line set in the back. It's all depending on where they're actually penetrating the lines through is where you're going to have the cavity to put the power supply. You can either just lift it up, tuck the power supply directly under here. Some units you might actually have a cavity over on the left side. Some of them, depending on where the refrigerant lines, you're going to have it on the right side, right in here. What you can also do in most applications is just take, let's see if I can't get it all. Once you take this side cover off, and some of them you can actually just slide it up into this cavity up in here. And this one, the refrigerant lines are kind of tight, but a lot of them you can actually just slide the power supply right in there without removing the unit directly off the wall. Like I said, you can either install it here, up in the side, up in the top, right on the return end inside, or you can actually have it right on the outside of the cover, directly on the top where the homeowner can't see it from their location. Kind of keep that out of sight a little bit. Once you do that, then what you're going to be doing is accessing your line voltage. In this case, we're actually going to put the power supply directly in the center. So you have to keep in mind where the power supply location is to where you're going to run your lamp wires so they're going to be long enough to reach the power supply. Once you do that, you're going to be installing your line voltage wires. On this one, it has an S2, S1, S2, and S3 wire connections. You're going to be choosing S1 and S2 for the line voltage. We're going to be utilizing, for this application, we're going to be using 120, but you can purchase it in a 120 or a 208, 230, depending on what your line voltage is to the unit. You have line 1, line 2, and ground, or neutral hot and ground. Once you find that, you just connect these up. In this application, it's actually going to be directly here on the bottom. In some of the models, the line terminals are right here in the front, a little bit easier to access. and you just feed your wires directly through. Once you make your line connection, kind of just tuck that back and get ready for the power supply location. Okay, can't find that. Okay, what we're doing now is actually removing the drain pan. Just be a little gentle with these tabs. Everything is plastic, so kind of be delicate when you're taking the pan off. But in this case, there is no screws. You're just removing the drain pan directly off the 3 notches and dropping the drain pan. You know, you can actually leave it, let it hang. The only thing that is attaching is the drain line, and it's a flexible hose, so you're not going to break anything at this point. You can just let it hang while you're accessing this shroud part. This is the main location where the lamp clips and the lamps are going to be installed. This being a brand new unit, obviously we don't have any germicidal growth on here, any mold growth forming up on the shroud, whereas normally you're going to have an issue here. The main thing is you want to make sure you wipe this off and get it as clean as possible using mild soap and water. Wipe it off, dry it really well. In every single package there is an alcohol wipe to then wipe the shroud back down where you're going to be installing the lamp clips, because those are being secured with double-sided tape. Okay, now that we have the system clean, what we're going to be doing is actually finding the correct lamp location and the best location for the model that you have. What we're going to do is actually have the lamp. Put the lamp up close towards the blower. Keep in mind that you're actually going to have the other vanes, and the front of the drain pan is actually going to be in this area. So you're going to make sure you want it up far enough to where you're tilted up towards the blower on each side, and actually have this to where each lamp is end to end. What we'll have is the lamp clips actually on it right before we stick the lamps to the shroud. On some models, you can actually have the lamp cords go on each end of it to where you can go on this side, and you make another hole over on here, and then they meet directly in the center. On this model, since it's a little bit tighter, what we're going to do is actually just drill one hole, have both lamp cords go through the same hole, and meet back through the center. Okay, at this point we already have the system set up for the lamp installation. What we're going to do is actually go ahead and drill the hole for the lamp cords to penetrate through. Here's the connector on the end of the lamp that you're going to have to make the hole big enough to feed the connector through. There's going to be 2 of these going into this hole. The best tool to use to make the hole with on this application is the step bit. So you're going to have to make the hole big enough to actually feed 2 of these through. And on this one, we're going to be drilling it through the gray plastic, not through the white plastic on this model. And it's basically the same on a lot of other models too, is where you're going to be feeding the lamp cord installations through. What we're going to go ahead and do is drill the hole real quick. Okay, don't be afraid to take your time, just to be careful that you're not taking too much plastic off. Okay, that should be large enough. Okay, after we drilled our hole, we're going to go ahead and thread each lamp clip through the hole. There's one there. Okay, at this point, once we have our hole drill, we're going to go ahead and install our lamp clips. Go ahead and use the alcohol wipe that's included in each kit. I'm going to go ahead and tear that off. It's very important that you get the area clean where we're going to be installing the lamps because we're using self-adhesive tabs, and you have to make sure you have all the residue off so they'll stick properly. And give it a sufficient amount of time for it to dry before you actually install the clips. Okay. Okay, once that is dried, you want to go ahead and install the lamp clips. They're very easy to install. You want those on the lamp first before you actually stick it to the area near the blower. They have a nice snug fit to the tab. Go ahead and pull the paper off. Kind of want to go ahead and line this up at this point. You can also adjust it once you go ahead and stick it to the shroud area. But you want to be able to read that label. It says caution this side out, because you want to actually have the shield on the outside, not actually the lamp towards the living space where the unit is. You want all the light generated towards the blower. So once we find our location, we go ahead and center that. Line it as best as possible, as long as it's in a, considerably straight line. It's not that critical, as long as it's not interfering any of the shroud or the vanes or anything like that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do the other lamp. Snap the lamp clips directly into place. When you're handling this, go ahead and just handle the aluminum housing, not the lamp itself. Just snap those on very tightly and go ahead and adjust it in the direction towards the blower. Okay, go ahead and pull each tab off. Basically in line with your other one. And you can make minor adjustments of the lamp positioning once you stick the tabs to the surface. Again, it doesn't have to be perfectly straight, as long as it is in the same vicinity, in line with the lamp you already installed. Okay, both lamps are now in place. At this point, we're going to go ahead and feed the wires through the hole that we made. There's actually one lamp cord. And the other one right there. Go ahead and leave a little slack because you're going to go ahead and, snap this pan back into place. And at this point, what you can do is go ahead and secure the wire. Since the wire is actually going to be on the back side of this, once we get the positioning exactly where we want it, you're going to go ahead and use the black straps that are included in the kit and go ahead and put one on each end of this lamp on the right hand side, which we'll go ahead and demonstrate that for you quickly. Okay, at this point we already have our lamps in place. Our clips are stuck to the shroud. We're going to go ahead and adjust the lamps to where the lamp is shining directly onto the blower, not out towards the space where the homeowner may be. You don't want to look directly at the lamp. If you have blue glow coming out, that's perfectly fine. What we're going to do is go ahead and position those. You can actually spin these pretty easily without taking the clip off to where you want to irradiate directly towards the blower. That is our main focus at this point. We'll go ahead and do this one here. You can almost get the sticker to show up basically the same also. Use that as a guide to make sure you have them both the same. Okay. And at that point, once you do have them in place where you're radiating towards the blower, because that is our main focus, again, is directly on the blower wheel itself. And with this being shielded, you're not going to have the UV shining directly out towards the space. At this point, we're going to go ahead and secure our wire directly to the lamp on the right-hand side, on the back side, so you're not radiating directly onto the lamp wire. Very easily. Use the wire ties that are included in the kit. You're just going to be sticking that directly on this side here. In each kit, there's also a self-adhesive tab securing pad that you can utilize if you choose to. If you don't want to secure it directly to the lamp, you can use that pad and place that directly in the center or over here on the back side if you choose to. Okay, and you actually just go ahead and put this other one on this wire. And this is something that most technicians already have handily if you need more. But normally 2 is sufficient enough to secure your wires through. And this slack is actually going to be taken out once you already have the pan in place. So we go ahead and clean these up a little bit. Okay, secure that into place. Okay, now we have the wires all secure. We're going to go ahead and put the pan back into place. It's just 3 tabs. Just get that one in there. The one in the center. And that one right there. And it's always, at this point, you have to go ahead and look inside and make sure you have all the slack out from inside so you don't actually have any wiring, anything else hindering the blower wheel. So go ahead and take your slack out and make sure everything's nice and secured tightly. Okay, now we have our lamps in place. Our wire harness is actually hanging out. We're going to go ahead and install our line voltage wiring harness. On this unit, we're actually going to remove this side panel. All the electrical connections are made on the bottom on this unit. On some models, they're actually up on the front here, but this particular one is directly on the bottom. So what we do is remove that side panel. We go ahead and undo this one here, just one screw. Okay. And then you have your line voltage and DC connection here on this side. So we go ahead and grab our wiring harness. This is the same wiring harness for either the 120 or the 208 to 230 power supply. You have your line 1 or hot, line 2 or neutral, and your ground wire. We'll go ahead and feed that. On this particular model, you're going to hook up your voltage to S1 and S2. You just slide these directly into the connector with the existing wire that's already there. And if there isn't room to feed it through the same hole, we include the terminal spades that you just put directly on. You remove the screw, and on some models you can just tap it right into where the screw is. And then you leave your other wires in through the little feed spacing on the back side here. What we have here is actually the back side of the system. This is going to be the line voltage that's already going to be existing going into the S1, S2 connection. And here's our lamp cord connections, our line voltage harness, S1 into S2. Obviously you're not going to see that in. We're actually going to be here on the front side. And on this model you can actually pull this down so you can look at it a little bit easier to make the terminations. But this is to show you that you can get both wires in there without a problem. They fit directly nice and tight. And once you get that on there, then you just pull this tab back in, snap that back into place once you get everything cleaned up, and attach your ground wire. Just make sure you have the ground wire connected at all times also. Okay, now that we have our lamps connected, our line voltage connected, we're all ready for our power supply to be connected. What we have here is our 120 volt model. Kind of good reading on all the documentation on the power supply itself. We have a little power indicator light that comes on when we do have line voltage. Our line voltage connected power input is on the right hand side, and both UV lamps are on the left hand side. We're going to go ahead and connect our lamps first. It actually only goes one way. Snap those into place. And then you do the line voltage. And there you go. We have line voltage to the unit, meaning the lamps are now energized, and we are ready to go. And at this point, you're actually going to be sliding the power supply directly in the back here. Okay, at this point, we have the lamps fired up. Everything's working. What we're going to do is just go ahead and button it up. Make sure everything's in the place. And then we have our caution UV light sticker. We want to install that in a location where they can actually somewhat see it, but it's not directly in the front of the unit. The best location actually to have it is down below the model and serial number of the manufacturer towards the bottom here, which they can still see when it's mounted up high enough, knowing that, you know, there is UV light in this system. Don't look directly at the lamp itself. Okay, we're all finished with the installation of our Fresh Air Mini UV product. If you have any other questions, you can go direct to our website, freshairuv.com. And thank you for watching.